Hey everybody, Chris Bailey here with Physical Therapy and Balance Centers. And today for our active at home exercise routine, we're going to go through the lower body. So what I mean by that is we're going to go from the upper thigh, down through the knees, into the ankles, and we're going to go through 4 of the best strengthening exercises for that area, and then we're going to go through 3 of the best stretches for that area. So what we're going to start with is just a little warm up. So come on in, Allie. And what I want you to demonstrate is, let's just start with your windmills, since I know how much you love that one. So she's going to start with just a windmill exercise, just to warm up. Now the idea here is that we just want you to do something for a little bit of movement, so that you warm your body up before you begin to do the exercise. And it's not a good idea to do exercise cold. So you could start with a bike at home if you had a stationary bike. You could have been out shoveling snow. You could just be doing some home chores around the house. You just don't want to be cold. So I recommend at least like 2 to 3 minutes of some type of movement like this. Another one that people will do that works out pretty well, they'll just do a march like this and aim for their hands as they go up. This is a good way to warm up the hips, the knees, and the ankles. If you can't do any of these, another option is you can simply just bend your knees a little bit, reach down towards your toes, and come back up. If your balance isn't good enough to do any of these in standing, the other option is you can always just sit and reach towards your toes and then come back up to a sitting position. So after we have a little bit of a warm-up, we're going to start with my favorite strengthening exercise for the lower body, and it's just simply a up and down out of the chair. We call it a sit to stand. So what Allie's going to do here is she's just going to scoot her butt towards the front of the chair, and usually this works best in a firm chair. She's going to reach her arms out forward so she doesn't cheat and push off of her legs or off of the arms of the chair with her arms. She's going to bring her nose over her toes, we call it, and that just means she's bringing her center of gravity out over front so it's easier to push up out of the chair. And then she's going to push up to a straight position and then come back down. So just do 10 of those right there. And as she's doing this, what I want you to see is that she's coming down slowly. And the idea here is that you just don't want to flop when you sit down. That shows that you have some weakness in the back of your thigh muscles and in your glutes. So we want her to just come down nice and slow and not flop. And I'll have people generally do about 2 sets of 10 of this exercise. If you feel as though you have a hard time getting to 10 of these, what we'll do is we'll just put a little pad like this. And obviously you might not have something like this at home, but what you can use is a pillow from the chair or bedroom, and you'll sit on that. And maybe scoot back just a little bit. So what this does, this just makes it so she doesn't have to sit down quite as far. It makes the exercise quite a bit easier, just with that little 1 or 2 inch increase in that. So if you can't do 10, add a little bit of something underneath it there. If you still have trouble even with a little lift like that, add a little bit more. You want that high enough so that when you come up out of that chair, you don't feel unstable on your feet and you don't have to strain your legs or your hips too much when you come up. This should not cause pain in any of your joints. And the idea with this whole exercise series with Active at Home is we'll show you different ways to do these exercises so that it doesn't hurt your hips, your knees, or your ankles. Okay? Good. Thank you. So the next one that we want to do is, I call it a repeated step up. So if you don't have a stair at home, sometimes you can just get little steps like this. I prefer this to be done though on stairs. They're a lot more stable. And what Allie's going to do is she's going to step up with one leg and then come up all the way with the other and then come back down just like that then. And she'll repeat for 10 times going back and forth like this. And then after she goes up first with the right, and she's going to reverse that order and do 10 the opposite way. The idea here is that you're starting to work the quadricep muscles, the glute muscles, and you're also working your balance good. She's holding on a little bit here. If you're at home, when you're on the stairs, I'd like you to try and hold on to a rail. If you don't need to, if you have really good balance, you can just do this step up without holding on to anything. That makes it a little bit more challenging. And this is a really good one if you have trouble going up and down the steps, or if you have trouble going up and down curves out in the community. So after about 20 of those ones, we're going to show another one just to start to work the calf muscle here. And there's muscles in the front of your shin that are called your tibialis muscles. What they do is they pull the foot up this way. So this next exercise works both of those. Those muscles are really important for walking. If you have weakness in the calf muscle, it makes walking difficult. And if you have weakness in the front of these muscles here, that's where people can catch their toes when they walk. So go ahead and come up onto your tiptoes that way. And then come back flat and then pull your toes up that way. Now this part here is more difficult than what it looks like. Most people can come up on their toes pretty well like that. And I like them, same thing, to do 2 sets of 10 with this. The hard part is when she goes back like this. So keep doing it like that. But what you'll see oftentimes is when people start to go backwards like this, they might move their body forward like this, or they'll fall back this direction like that. So be careful with that one. Make sure you have hold of a countertop or of a chair or something else that's pretty stable as you go back like this. You want to be able to stand up pretty straight as you pull your toes up this way. That really works the muscles and strengthens these ones in the front of the leg, but it also stretches out the calf muscle in the back and gives you enough ankle mobility so that when you walk, you can step over top of that foot pretty well. If the calf muscles are tight, what you see is that people start to walk stiff-legged like this, and it really starts to impact their balance, and it can cause other problems going up the chain, including hip issues and back issues. So after we do about 2 sets of 10 of those, we're going to go into, I call it a modified lunge. So you could probably stay in that position. So what she's going to do is just to bring one foot out forward. She's going to bring her knee over her toes like this. And as you look down at that, you don't want your knee to go much beyond the front of your toes. A lot of times what we see is people lunge forward this way, like a traditional lunge. And when they do that, that puts a lot of pressure on the front of their knee through here, and it also can affect their balance. So for a lot of our patients here, and this is how I do these lunges at home too, after I've had some mild knee issues, is I'll go forward like this, lunge till that knee goes in line with the toe, and then just come back up to standing like that. So go ahead and do 10 of those, and you can alternate back and forth. That way, after you do 10 on each side, you can take a little break, and then I'd like people to do 20 on each side total. So she take a break after 10 here, and then repeat once more. As she's doing this, I want to point out one other thing, and go ahead and keep that back leg kind of straight there. Yep. So this is a really good exercise because she's getting strengthening as she goes forward here, and that left, that's that forward leg, the left side, and the left hamstrings and the glute and the butt muscles on that side. But at the same time, she's getting a hip stretch right through here, so you can feel a little bit of a pull in the back leg. And she's also getting a nice stretch into the calf. So this is a great exercise that really kills a lot of birds with one stone in terms of strengthening and stretches for the lower body. So go ahead and do a few more with those, Allie, as you go through this. If you have trouble with your balance with this, and what I mean by that is if you can't maintain stability when you're going forward like this, if you feel wobbly, what you can do is just put your hand on the surface as you do this. You could use a wall, you could use a bench, you could use a countertop in the kitchen as a good height for a lot of people. So what we're going to get into, those are the 4 main strengthening exercises that we give people for the lower body, and they really hit most of the main muscle groups down through there. But the thing that we see too is that people have a lot of issues with tightness through the legs, especially in through the hamstring, which is the muscle in through the back. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways to stretch that out. So go ahead and have a seat. So we're going to do this in sitting first. And the idea here is that we know not all of the people who are watching these videos and at home are able to do a hamstring stretch like you may have thought of traditionally, where you reach towards your toes this way, or where you're down on the floor reaching towards your toes. So this is a way that we'll start out with people stretching their hamstring. So bring your feet up just a little bit further this way. And what she's going to do is she's going to reach down towards your toes, and as she does this, she's trying to get a stretch into this area through here. You might get a little bit in behind the knee, and that's okay. The muscles start from about the butt and go down to here. That's where you should feel a light stretch. And with this, I'm going to have her hold 10 seconds, and she's going to do 2 of these. If this is too difficult for you, if you feel too much of a strain through there, you can just back your heels up like this, and now she's just gonna reach down towards the floor this way, and you feel a little bit less of a stretch through here. The other good thing about this exercise is that she's also getting a little stretch in through the back. So if you have some tightness in through the back, especially if you have stenosis or back arthritis, you get a nice stretch through this at the same time that you're stretching out the hamstring here. So let's go ahead and show it in standing, just with a little knee bend. So this might be the next way that you would try and do this, is she's just going to reach down towards the floor. Now she's keeping her back nice and straight to this here. What that does is it doesn't allow you to cheat in through this area, and you get all the focus into the hamstring there. Go ahead and let your back kind of sag. Sometimes what you see, if these muscles are tight, is people, when they go ahead and reach towards the floor, let their back sag like this, and that's okay. You get a bad stretch with this, but if we're just trying to isolate the hamstring, she wants to keep this a little bit straighter like that, and it really shows how tight these muscles get. Okay, go ahead and come back up, and then just do a few just straight up and down standing. If these muscles get tight in through here, what happens is that it pulls on your pelvis and pulls you into a back tilt like this here. And with certain conditions of the back, that can really inflame things and cause more back issues. Tight hamstrings also can create more issues with hip and knee pain as well. So these are really good stretches to work through. So really, I just recommend doing one of these different variations of the hamstring stretch 2 times for at least 10 seconds with that. And then what we're going to go through is we're going to go through the calf stretch. And we'll just show it. We'll show it both ways. We'll show it on the leg at the table here, and then we'll go from the step too. So what she's trying to do here is she's going to lean her body forward just a little bit until she gets a stretch out of the calf muscle here. And she's kind of increasing the bend in the ankle right here. It's important to get a good stretch of this calf muscle for the reasons I said before, is if they're tight, it's difficult to walk normally. And also we see quite a few injuries when people have tight calf muscles. So the same thing with this, about 2 times each side for a 10-second hold so she can switch this up. This is a really good stretch to stretch the calf this way. If you also have pain in the bottom of your feet, we see a lot of people for something called plantar fasciitis. And all that is an irritation of the bottom of the foot where your part of your fascia or the connective tissue on the bottom of your foot from your heel to your toes goes. So as she pulls her toes up this way like she is, right through here, she gets a nice stretch on the plantar fascia. Now, sometimes that might bother her heel. So the next one I'm going to show you is on a step or on a step stool. And the step stool isn't all that stable. And when you put all that weight on the back of the step stool, it can get a little bit unsteady. So what I want you to do is try and do this on stairs at home, but it's a really easy way to stretch your calf muscle. So what she's doing is she's letting her heels drop down and give it a stretch for about 10 seconds. You're looking for the pull into this area here. And then she can do one of 2 things. She can just come up this straight like this, and then come back down, and she's looking for more of the stretch on the calf. If she's looking to try and get a little bit of strengthening for the calf at the same time, which is what I have a lot of people do, is now she's going to push up through her toes and come up on her tiptoes, and then come back down. So if she comes up on her tiptoes, that's a strengthening exercise for the calf. So this kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone too. You get a strengthening exercise and a stretch for that calf. I like people to hold on to the handrail as they do this movement here. So the last stretch for this series is one for the quadricep. So I'm going to have Allie come up here and start with one way to do this stretch. But I'm going to show you another way in standing. This is a tough stretch to do, but I'm telling you that so many of the people who we see, anywhere from young athletes all the way up to people after knee replacements, hip replacements, really need to do this stretch, because what happens is that the quadricep muscle is called quadricep. It has 4 parts. One part of it actually attaches up into the hip, and they all come down and meet up at the kneecap. This muscle kicks your leg out that way. It helps you to push up this direction here. But as it tightens, what you lose is the ability to basically go to this movement here. So you'll see in high school sports and some other activities, the way to stretch this is people will stand straight, they keep their knees pretty close together, and they pull the leg back like this. What we see is a lot of people don't have the stability to stand like this and stretch the quadricep in this way, or they don't have the flexibility of their knee to be able to pull it up like this. Almost everybody can really tolerate the stretch like this. And what I call this is the dog leash stretch, because these straps are kind of expensive, but most people have a dog leash at home. You can use a tie strap. They do have these even at Walmart and other stores. It's called a stretch out strap sometimes. It just has a little loop on one end, and then she's just pulling with both hands this direction. So what she's trying to do is she's trying to bring her heel closer to her butt as her whole body is just laying flat here. She should feel the pull from about her hip right down through the knee like this. She wants to hold for about 10 seconds for 2 times on each side. And as long as you don't have severe knee arthritis, or as long as you haven't had a knee replacement, you should be able to get your heel closer to your butt this direction as you go on with this. And people really make a lot of progress with this stretch quickly. It feels a little bit different than the hamstring stretch, and it's generally a lot more well tolerated. So then, if you need a little bit of help with this, we'll have somebody's spouse or somebody help them out with this stretch where they'll just put it on the other side like this. And then it'll be the same thing. We'll just pull it up with that side, 10-second hold for 2 times. If you do have a knee problem and you're wondering, should I be doing this stretch? You should not have knee pain while you're doing this. It should just feel that pulling through the thigh. The one thing that we see is some folks, if they have back arthritis or back stenosis, have some pain right through here because you're kind of torquing that back and the angle that's not great for those conditions. What we'll do for those folks is we'll just put a little pillow underneath of their stomach and through here. I don't have a pillow, let's just throw this under there. So you just put something under your hips like this, and then what that does, and let your top kind of come down flat like this, is it just gives a little bit more of a bend to the low back, and then that generally relieves that low back pain as you continue to get that stretch on that side. Good, thank you. So those are the main strengthening exercises and stretches that we use every day here from here on down. We have a number of other video series to go through. The next one will be for the hips and through here, and there are some exercises that will include work with some bands, so if you have some of those, that will be good. If you have any pain in your knees or in your ankles that is limiting you to do these exercises, please get a hold of us. If you also have any other questions about different ways to do these exercises, let us know. And then we're also developing a video series that's a seminar talking more specifically about problems with the knee and what we might be able to do to help you out with pain and issues in that area. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you next time.